Hi friends, I'm Dr. Prathama Chaudhary, Professor of Psychiatry practicing in Kolkata. Today we are going to talk about assertive communication. Assertive communication is the art of telling people what you want to say without sounding or meaning to be rude. Let's discuss a real life situation to make it easier for you to understand. Let's say you want help from your office supervisor about a file. You tell him, "Would you mind helping me for a minute with this?" He answers, "I am busy with this. Take me later." You say, "Well, I really hate to bother you, but it's important. He quickly retorts, "Look, I have a 4 o'clock deadline for my report." Then you just give in. "Okay, I understand. I know it's hard to be interrupted." Now, if you look back at your behavior objectively, maybe a few days later, you will realize that you have been a very poor negotiator. You may think you were polite and nice, but your communication pattern was not an assertive one. Your opening line, "Well, I really hate to bother you," is too timid, and your supervisor takes advantage of that. You are left to do the job all by yourself. Here is just one example where you wanted to discuss something right now but couldn't manage to get the time from your boss. Of course, it could have been the other way round, with you ending up shouting at your boss and accusing him of being downright uncooperative and complaining to the HR department. But hold on. Is there a way of not being too submissive or too rude, but just being assertive in your communication with friends, family, or as in this example, at work? Yes, there is. And that is what we are going to discuss today. The first step towards being assertive is having a clear description in your mind of the situation where you want to be assertive, but you are not being able to. The basic questions you ask yourself are who, what, why, and well. Who means who is the person you want to be assertive with. What denotes what exactly is the problem. Why is why are you not being able to stand for yourself. And well, well stands for what is your goal in this particular situation. Let us go back to the scenario of you negotiating rather unsuccessfully with your office supervisor and ending up very frustrated. Let's look at it logically. The who in this situation is, of course, your boss. Now define the what or the exact problem. Think objectively. Shed all extra baggages and negative emotions. You want him or her to help you with a particular file, but he is not giving you time, saying he or she is too busy with a particular task for himself and his deadline. Why can't you stand your ground and get your job done? Here, you have to reflect a bit. Ask yourself, if necessary, confront yourself. Why did you give in so easily? Were you worried that you may seem like a persistent nag or an insensitive, selfish colleague? Or were you scared that if you annoy your boss, he may cause trouble for you later? Poor appraisal report at the end of the year, or not giving you leave when you really need it? And finally, the well. Look at your goal. Not long-term goals, but short-term situational ones. Like in this case, you would like to present your point that you need help with this file and want him or her to actually help you get it done as soon as possible because you too have a deadline. And do all this without any fear of retribution. Once you have it clear in your mind, we go to the second step, that is, having a plan to communicate effectively and execute it. I have a script for this. It's called a ladder script. like in the snake ladder games. There are snakes here too, but if you are smart, they will not touch you. The L in the ladder stands for look. Look at your rights, what you want, and what you feel about the situation. Define your goal and keep it in your mind when negotiating. Let go of self pity, blame, anger, or revenge. A. A stands for arrangement. Arrange for an appropriate time and place to discuss it with your boss. Instead of rushing to him just a few minutes before office closure, anticipate and ask for time a few hours or maybe a day in advance. If he ignores your verbal requests, send him a mail. You may have to skip this step if it is an emergency. Once you get to talk to your boss, come to the first D of the ladder script. Define the problem situation specifically. Don't beat about the bush. Say you need help with which project, where exactly you need help, and why. Rehearse beforehand so that you don't fumble when you ask. The second D stands for description. Describe your feelings clearly. For example, you feel angry and rebuffed when your supervisor trivializes your problems. This step may be skipped in an office situation, but definitely not when you negotiate with, let's say, your spouse or friend. When you describe your feelings, be careful. Don't blame. Don't say, you always hurt me. Instead, say, I feel hurt when I don't get time to discuss this with you. Instead of putting the blame squarely on the next person, try to take some of the onus on your own shoulders. E. Express. Express your request in one or two easily understandable sentences. Your boss may say, okay, I have heard the problem. What do you want me to do? Don't feel hurt at this. Don't shrink away. Stand your ground and express what you want. Finally, the R of the ladder script, which is most important, and this is called reinforcement. Every successful negotiator will tell you this. If you want the other party to come around, he or she must feel that he or she has benefited from this negotiation too. So, dangle a carrot. Say, if you help me with this file today, I'll be able to take up your next assignment earlier tomorrow. If simple positive reinforcement doesn't work, clearly state the negative consequences of not helping. If you don't have time now, maybe I will mail you after office at a convenient time and send the CC to the manager. It's not a threat, mind you. Just stating the consequences of non-cooperation. Ensure it does not sound like a threat. This is slippery ground, but you must have a control over your emotions. While you are at it, take care to maintain steady eye contact, keep a level voice, never appear aggressive, blaming, or tearful. We'll talk more about body language later, maybe at a different session. For now, let's say goodbye with a resolve to stand up for our rights and be assertive. If we don't, people will take us for granted. We'll keep blaming ourselves, and then one day all our bottled up emotions will explode. Hope our little talk today will help you avoid all these negative consequences of being non-assertive. All the best. This is Dr. Prathama Chaudhary, consultant psychiatrist, Kolkata.